Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we really dig into fascinating ideas from your sources, hoping to give you those aha moments, maybe ones you weren't even looking for. Today, we're diving deep into something, well, pretty universal, I think. Whether you're in a professional setting, maybe meeting a client, or heck, even just navigating everyday life, it's the art of building trust and doing it fast. You ever notice that? How some interactions just, I don't know, click, you feel that instant connection, but then others, ooh, it feels like pulling teeth, right?
Even if you think you're saying all the right stuff. We're actually exploring a system today that comes from the world of contractors, believe it or not. But the insights, they really stretch far beyond that into pretty much any human interaction, I'd say.
Yeah, what's really compelling here, I think, is how this common problem these contractors face.
Yeah.
You know, they give a great quote, solid numbers, and then poof, ghosted.
Exactly. And that whole situation, it actually reveals something much deeper about human connection. Our sources today, we've got bits from a blog by Contractors for Contractors and a LinkedIn piece called He Wasn't Sure About Me Until 17 Minutes In. They really drive home the issue. It's usually not the price tag. It's the trust that hasn't been built yet.
Ah, okay. So the mission for this deep dive, then, is to sort of peel back the layers on the practical steps, the things you can actually do to shift someone from, skeptical to trusting. And quickly, like in minutes, we're going to look at this real-life case study. A homeowner named Jack starts off totally guarded, arms crossed. You can just picture it.
Skeptical.
Totally. But then, 17 minutes in, his whole vibe changes. He actually says, and this is great, I like how you handle yourself. I trust you'll do this right.
And the kicker is?
Yeah, go.
This happens before they even talk numbers,
Right.
before the price is on the table.
Exactly. That's what's so interesting. So we're going to break down this, what the sources call the insanely great appointment system that made that shift happen.
That Jack story really nails it, doesn't it? It pinpoints that core challenge. So many professionals, not just contractors, think, hey, I've got a great offer, competitive price, that should be enough. But then, crickets, no callback. And the surprising thing really is that the offer itself, often it's secondary. The real roadblock, lack of trust.
Okay, so that's the problem.
Yes.
Trust, or the lack of it. So what's the systematic fix? What does this insanely great appointment system actually involve? How does it build that connection so fast? It's like a framework, right?
Exactly. It's a framework built on essentially 3 pillars, 3 distinct parts, but they all connect. The first one, it's all about creating a strong first impression before you even arrive.
Okay, before you even walk in the door.
Yeah, precisely. It's not just, showing up looking presentable. It's about building a sense of familiarity, of professionalism before that handshake even happens. It's kind of like persuasion, influencing their perception beforehand.
Persuasion, I like that. So what does that actually look like? Give me some examples. For Jack, maybe.
Well, imagine if the contractor, before showing up, had maybe sent a quick About Us video or a professional-looking digital bio, even just a text confirming the arrival time like, hey, on my way, see you in 10.
Ah, okay. Little things.
They seem little, but our sources stress they're not. Things like, a clean branded truck, a professional uniform, that pre-appointment text, they all subtly build this picture of competence, of reliability. Before you've said a single word face-to-face, it helps bridge that initial gap, where you're just some stranger.
Right, makes sense. You're less of an unknown quantity.
Exactly. And psychologically, it taps into something called cognitive fluency. Basically, the easier it is for the homeowner or anyone really to process who you are and feel a bit familiar, the more trustworthy you seem. It lowers their mental effort needed to figure you out, makes them a bit more open from the get-go.
Interesting. Cognitive fluency. Okay, so that's pillar 1, the pre-arrival impression. What's the second pillar?
The second is the structured appointment, or they sometimes call it a trust timeline.
A trust timeline? Okay.
Yeah, and this isn't just like a basic agenda. It's a carefully sequenced flow designed to hit common anxieties people have and build that rapport at specific moments. It's really about guiding the conversation so the other person feels genuinely heard, respected, which is absolutely vital in that, like you said, critical 17-minute window.
Guiding it, okay.
Yeah.
And the sources mention specific language, too, don't they? Like a script.
They do mention a trust builder script, yeah. But it's maybe less about reciting words verbatim and more about internalizing the why behind certain phrases. Phrases that disarm people, clarify things, make them feel empowered. The goal is to make the interaction feel, well, authentic, collaborative, not like you're reading off a card. It's about hitting the right psychological triggers, really.
Okay, that makes sense. But I can hear some listeners thinking, using a script or a system. Doesn't that feel a bit inauthentic, maybe even manipulative.
Yeah.
How do you keep it genuine?
That's a really important point. And the key, honestly, is genuine intent. This whole thing isn't about tricking someone. It's about being intentionally clear and intentionally empathetic. This system is just a framework to help you express that genuine intent effectively. Like, take the opening instead of jumping right into business. The system suggests saying something like, look, before we dive into measurements and numbers, I just want to quickly walk you through how I typically handle these projects.
Okay.
That way, you continue, you know exactly what to expect, and there are no surprises down the line.
What's the psychology behind that specific phrasing?
Well, straight away, it establishes transparency, it manages expectations. Both are huge for reducing anxiety and building what psychologists call psychological safety. That's like a cornerstone of trust.
Right. Makes them feel safe.
Yeah, and it also hands some control back to the homeowner or the client or whoever you're talking to. It taps into that really powerful human need for autonomy. For Jack, hearing that right at the start, it probably disarmed a lot of that initial, what's this guy going to try and sell me apprehension, because he knew the process wouldn't be some big mystery.
It's a proactive communication.
Yeah.
Making them feel like an active participant, not just someone being talked at.
Yeah.
And then, okay, during the walkthrough part, say, looking at the actual project.
Yeah.
It shifts again.
Exactly. It shifts from just pointing out problems to showing, like, genuine care. The suggestion is a phrase along the lines of, you know, if this were my house, I'd definitely be watching out for XYZ.
Okay.
I'm just pointing it out because, honestly, it can cost you more later if it's ignored, and I'd rather you hear it from me now.
That feels different.
It is different. It's not just showing expertise, look how much I know. It's demonstrating empathy, a genuine care-first attitude. That kind of phrasing positions you as their advocate, not just a salesperson trying to upsell.
An advocate, yeah.
And that triggers reciprocal trust. That's likely the point where Jack started to think, okay, this person actually seems to care about my situation, my long-term outcome, not just making a quick buck. He felt seen.
That's a really subtle but powerful shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
From here's a problem to here's how I'd protect myself. Okay. And then the quote, the price. That's often the high-pressure moment. Right?
Definitely. And the system addresses that, too. Before you even present the numbers, they recommend saying something like, okay, I've put together your estimate here in a way that gives you clear options.
Clear options.
And look, there's absolutely no pressure here. My job today is just to give you the best information possible so you can make the right call for your situation.
Putting the power back in their hands again.
Precisely. It hits that autonomy button hard. You're empowering them, not cornering them. It shows massive respect for their decision-making process. And that builds significant trust right when things could get tense. For Jack, that probably sealed the deal, trust-wise. It solidified that feeling of control and respect.
That's a fantastic way to reframe that whole exchange. Okay, so strong first impressions, structured appointment with trust-building language. What's the third pillar?
The third pillar is a simple follow-up plan. And the key word is simple. It's about anticipating their needs after you leave, but without being, you know, annoying or intrusive.
Right, not hounding them.
Exactly. No incessant calls. It might just be a single value-added email, maybe summarizing the key things you discussed, or perhaps a helpful link related to their project. Something designed to keep you top of mind, but in a helpful way, not a demanding one. The suggested kind of phrase here is something like, you know, most folks I work with appreciate having a little space to talk things over, maybe chat with their partner.
Yeah, that's usually true.
So you'd say, what I'll do is just shoot you a quick follow-up email tomorrow, just in case any questions pop up overnight. Sound okay?
That sounds really reasonable and useful, actually. I can see that working way beyond just contractor quotes, like following up after a networking thing, maybe. Or even after a difficult chat with a family member or a job interview. It keeps that connection alive, but respectfully. Shows you're consistent, thoughtful, not just pushy.
Stepping back now, you can see the bigger picture, right? These subtle shifts in conversation, combined with a clear process, they're powerful. And they directly address why contractors, and let's be honest, lots of other professionals often lose out. It's often not the price. It's because they failed to earn that trust early on. The sources really hammer this point, those first 15, maybe 20 minutes. They are profoundly critical. Without some kind of systematic approach like this one, you're leaving way too much to chance. And that initial skepticism people naturally have, it often wins.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've just sort of unpacked this insanely great appointment system. And it shows how having a structure right from that first impression before you meet, through how you communicate during the meeting, and even into that simple, thoughtful follow-up, can genuinely turn skepticism into trust, sometimes in as little as, 17 minutes.
Yeah.
It really highlights it in so many situations, professional or personal.
Yeah.
The actual offer, the price, the thing itself, it's often not the main hurdle. The real barrier is not having laid that foundation of trust first, built on things like empathy, transparency, respecting their economy.
And if we connect that dot to the bigger picture, this deep dive really shows us that building real rapport, genuine connection, it's not about being some slick salesperson or being pushy. It's actually about having a system, a thoughtful approach that makes the other person feel, well, heard, respected, clear on what's happening. It's about showing you're competent, sure, but also showing you care right up front, making your whole process feel transparent and professional.
Which brings up a really interesting question, I think. It's something maybe for you to chew on after this. Where else in your life, beyond the obvious work stuff, where else might applying a similar kind of systematic approach to building trust? Where could that transform an interaction? Maybe one that starts off a bit guarded, a bit uncertain, into something that feels like a genuine connection, a success. Could be meeting new in-laws, like you said, or maybe a tricky conversation with a friend, navigating a new community group. Lots of places, probably. Well, that's all we have time for on this deep dive. We really hope these insights give you a bit more confidence navigating your next important conversation. Whether you're, trying to close a deal or maybe just aiming to build stronger, more authentic relationships.